Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Tanya, a salary woman in Japan. I talk about life, work, and just random things I experienced living in Japan. And today's topic is retirement and pension in Japan. To be honest, I have been avoiding making this video even though some of you have been asking me to cover this topic, and the reason is I'm just not that confident to talk about retirement in Japan because I haven't gone through it obviously. But when I gathered my thoughts and I was like, okay, so what do I feel about retiring in Japan? Do I want it? How do I feel secure or not in terms of finances? It kind of all came together that I don't feel very secure retiring in Japan, even though I have been working here. So let's break it down on whether foreigners can actually retire in Japan, what kind of financial options are available, and so on. I know we've all been dreaming about buying our perfect inaka house, live our Ghibli life in somewhere in Japanese countryside. And to be honest, when I imagine my retirement, it's probably somewhere in Okinawa, one of the islands, maybe Miyakojima. I love sea, I love ocean, I would like to snorkel, and I know this would require me a significant financial investment. So let's see if it's possible, if my dreams are ever to be true. First question many of you wonder about is whether foreigners can actually retire and live in Japan on pension. Yes, this is possible, but you need a legal reason to do that. Unfortunately, Japan doesn't have a visa for retirees like some countries do. So even if you have lots of cash and you come to Japan and you just want to live here, just doing your pension retirement life, this is unfortunately not possible. You need some kind of legal reason to stay for a long time. It can be PR, you can get citizenship, you can get married to a Japanese person, and you can also open the business in Japan. Well, in terms of business in Japan, you actually need to have an active business running and significant investment, so it's not as easy as it sounds, and it might not be the retiree life you think about. You actually have to work. So there are limited options in terms of retiring in Japan. And in my case, even though I have been living, working here, I cannot just stay here after I finish my work. I need to get a PR or maybe a citizenship. So it's a little bit complicated, and if you don't have a good legal reason to stay in Japan, retiring in Japan might not be possible for you. Again, I'm not a legal consultant or a lawyer, so if you were able to stay in Japan as a retiree for any other visa or reason, please write it down in the comments so we can all see and discuss it. Let's talk about the financial side of retirement in Japan and why it brings me anxiety. Even though I've been working here, my job is relatively well paid and I have some savings. To retire in Japan, you obviously need a lot of money. So every month, me, Japanese people, everyone who stays here for a long term have to pay pension premiums. The system works as kind of an insurance. So each person who is working or an adult have to pay insurance premiums. With this money that is currently paid, the government pays pension to people who are retired now. Well, just hearing that, you can already assume what kind of problems come with this, considering that the Japanese population is not getting any younger. But we'll get to it. For now, I'll talk a little bit more about how much you have to pay each month and how much you'll get when you retire in Japan. Inside the pension system, there are actually two kinds of categories. One is Kokumin Nenkin and one is Kousei Nenkin. So Kokumin Nenkin, you have to pay about 17,000 each month. That's for people who are freelancers, not employed, students, and so on. And in the end, if you pay this amount each month for 40 years, after you retire, you can get about 65,000 yen each month. On the other hand, Kousei Nenkin is for people who are employed at a company. So people like me, salarymen and salarywomen, and each person pays a different amount depending on their salary. Currently, I pay about 8%, 8-9% of my salary each month, and I find it just too much. And this percentage has been growing. On the other hand, the amount I'll be getting after I retire each month is much more than the Kokumin Nenkin, so about 170, so up to 200,000 yen per month. it's not enough. Honestly, it's not enough. When I was a student in Tokyo, I was getting a stipend around 150,000 yen, and it wasn't enough to survive. I mean, it was enough to barely survive, but if you want to go eat out, you want to buy some nice clothes, it's just not enough. So this pension, if I pay it for a long time, a few decades of my life, I'll be only getting like 170,000 yen each month. So I hope it answers why I'm anxious about retiring here. As I said before, this Japanese pension system is a kind of insurance. So younger people who are working are paying up to support people who have retired. And with the aging population in Japan, you can imagine the imbalance between people who retired, so the number is growing, and people who are working is actually shrinking. This is why it's becoming harder and harder for younger people who are still working to support the retired population of Japan. Another one, the pension can actually go down. In order to balance this financial strain on the population, Japan has a built-in system called Makro Keizai Saido. This is a system that allows to adjust the amount of pension depending on the current economic and social condition. For example, depending on the population growth or decline, price inflation, deflation. What it means is that the amount of pension you get can actually decrease with time, not increase. Another thing is the Japanese government is trying to raise the retirement age. Right now it's 65 years old, you can start getting your pensions. But in fact, they are trying to push it to 70. If you have decided to work until 70, your monthly amounts in the future will be bigger, but it also means that you have to work longer. You are not getting any pension during these 65 to 70 years. With the current lifespan in Japan, it's very realistic to live past 70, past 80, and very well past 90. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. But it's kind of scary how in the future we might have to work until like 75 or even 80. So what you can actually do to improve your financial stability when you are retired? Well, being a salary woman as I am, I'm also conscious about money. About 25% of my salary each month I actually invest in different tools that are created by the Japanese government to help people save more money for their retirement. Of course, the Japanese government itself recognizes how miserable this amount of pension that people are getting, and they recommend for people to have at least 20 million yen saved up in their account. 20 million yen is about $150,000, and I don't know, I feel like it's very little if you want to live a comfortable life after retirement and you expect to live for quite a long time. I think you need even more if you want to like travel around the world, just enjoy life, maybe buy some interesting things. So let me introduce the investment tools that are available to anyone who is living in Japan long term. So the first one is iDeCo. This is kind of a 401k in the US, so a private retirement fund where you can invest voluntarily a certain amount of money each month, and you can withdraw them after you turn 60. The good thing about this fund is that it's supported by the Japanese government, and the index funds that are in there are very well vetted, so they are kind of a low risk. Everything you put in this fund is actually tax-free, so you have less taxes moving on. When you withdraw this money, there are some taxes, but it's not as much, and the gains are tax-free. So this is a very good option if you are living in Japan for a long time and you plan to retire here. Another account I'm doing is NISA. NISA is a bit more flexible, so you don't have to wait until you're 60 to withdraw the money. You don't actually get tax-free benefit when you invest the money. So the money you invest is not tax-free, but whatever you gain is tax-free. This is amazing, a very amazing tool to invest, to increase your capital. I'm actually going to make a video more dedicated to these two iDeCo and NISA programs on how to manage your personal investment finances in Japan. But for now, it's just like a quick overview of what tools I'm using to increase my chances of buying the property in Okinawa for me to retire. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you have any other questions and I will try to answer them. And of course, follow my channel, support me if you would like to, and I hope you have a great day.